So another year, the trade deadline has come and gone, and the Raiders got
And you tell them one thing, just win, baby.
Now, even though we all expected the Raiders to make some type of big moves, especially knowing where our team is at right now, 2-5, we desperately need some help on the offense and defense side of the ball. But the Raiders really made no type of moves. But according to Vinny B in the Place to Be, the Raiders actually tried to make some moves. But at the end of the day, they got no deal done. Now, I really do not know what's going on with this team. I know we got a couple of players on this team that we could trade away for at least some late draft picks, but it looks like the Raiders are staying pat right now with the players that they do have, and they're going to move forward and hopefully turn things around with this team. I thought we could at least upgrade in some positions, but I guess Josh McDaniels and the rest of his organization thinks otherwise. But at the end of the day, year in and year out, the Raiders really never make moves at the trade deadline, but this year they at least made one, trading away big time Hank to the Dallas Cowboys for a 6th round pick. I understand that not one player was going to turn this whole organization around, especially what we've been going through these past couple of weeks, but there was definitely a lot of star players that were on the market that I felt like the Raiders could have at least went out and made a trade for. One of those big names was linebacker Roquan Smith. You can't tell me for a fact that there is a linebacker in the 2nd round in this upcoming draft that is going to be as good as Roquan Smith. So the fact that we didn't at least give him a call and try to send him a 2nd and a 5th is crazy to me, because Roquan Smith is definitely one of those players that could help this defense out, a position of need, because Denzel Perriman ain't cutting it. I mean, after a Pro Bowl season, this dude in Patrick Graham's system is not looking like the same guy he once was. Devon Diablo, yeah, he's stacking up on tackles, but he's still a liability out there. And then you got Jayon Brown. I don't know what the hell he's been doing out there, but the matter of the fact is Roquan Smith was available and he would have been a perfect fit for this defense. Now, another player that was on my radar, as well as a lot of other Raider fans, was cornerback William Jackson III from Washington. This is a guy that I felt like could have definitely helped out in this defense, especially in the secondary. I know our secondary is not really that good at all. I mean, we got a lot of players that we definitely should have moved before the trade deadline, but it is what it is. Now, William Jackson III was a guy that the Washington Commanders were trying to trade away today, and they even came out and said that if they didn't find no trade partner, they were just going to waive him. And at that point, I felt like the Raiders should have at least thrown a 6th or 7th round pick to the Washington Commanders just to bring him over here. But it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers came out of nowhere and they're going to be acquiring William Jackson III. Now, those are some big names, that I felt like the Raiders could have actually went out and, bought, and brought here to Las Vegas. But there's a couple of names on this roster right now that we could have sold away to some other teams and, collected some assets in return. And one of those big names is our star tight end, Darren Waller. There's been a lot of frustrated Raider fans out there with how Darren Waller has went throughout the season, not being able to play here and there. There's a lot of questionable things going on. A lot of people even thinking that, Darren Waller just doesn't want to play for this team. But with that said, I know that Darren Waller is dealing with an injury, and I know that we recently signed him to a contract extension. But what could the Raiders have gotten in return for Darren Waller? I don't know. But if you look at another big name tight end that was traded today, TJ Hawkinson was sent to the Minnesota Vikings for a 2nd and a 3rd round pick. The Lions did send 2 4th round picks just to get that in return. So just knowing that and knowing how good Darren Waller is, because I know for a fact that Darren Waller is way better than TJ Hawkinson, I think we could have gotten a 2nd in return at least. But it looks like the Raiders are just going to stay pat with Darren Waller. And I know that I've told you guys this before, that I feel like we should just keep Darren Waller for the rest of the season and see what happens. If we have to trade him away at the end of the season, then we trade him away. But I know he's dealing with injuries, so hopefully he can come back and help out this offense, because we know for a fact that this offense is struggling right now. And Darren Waller is a big piece of this offense. We cannot have another game like we did in New Orleans. So hopefully Darren Waller can come back strong and be healthy for the rest of the season, because we really need all of our weapons out there. I just hope that Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels get their shit together, because we definitely need to start winning more games if we want the Raider Nation to be behind this team at all for the rest of the season. Now, some other questionable names that are still on this roster right now that I don't understand is 1, Jonathan Abram, and 2, Clelin Ferrell. Now, these are 2 1st round picks that we had in 2019. We did not pick up their 5th year option, so I don't understand why we still have them on the roster right now. Clelin Ferrell is a guy that I'm over with right now. That project is long and gone, and he's one of those John Gruden guys that, did not pan out for this team and has not lived up to the hype. And definitely in Patrick Graham's defense, he's a guy that is just being overshadowed by other guys like Malcolm Kuntz and Sean Bauer. So Cleveland Farrell, we could have at least got somewhat of a late round pick for him in return. Jonathan Abram, on the other hand, I felt like we could have traded him for something, 4th, 5th round pick maybe. Even though Jonathan Abram has had some solid games here and there, he has still been a liability in the secondary. Not only him, Trayvon Merrick is another guy I wouldn't mind trading away, because I feel like he does not fit this defensive scheme at all. And this dude has been getting burnt out there in the secondary. Deron Harmon has been our best secondary player out there other than Nate Hobbs, but Nate Hobbs right now is dealing with some injuries. Roquan Smith has been another solid player in the secondary, but as far as these young players that we have right now, I'm just not sold on either of them. And the last player that was drafted in the first round of that 2019 draft that didn't get his 5th-year option picked up was our running back, our star running back, Josh Jacobs. Now, Josh Jacobs has been proving to the league, and especially the Raiders organization, that he's one of the best players in the league today, and he's definitely the best offensive player that we have right now. But with how good he's been playing this season, is it good enough for the Raiders to bring him back next season? I feel like if there's anybody on this team right now, any young player on this team right now that will stay around for next season, I feel like Josh Jacobs will be that guy. I just don't know if giving him all that bread is going to bite us in the ass in the long run. Now, some notable players that are going to be free agents next year for the Raiders are Denzel Perryman, Jayon Brown, Roquan Smith, Anthony Averett, Foster Moreau, Deron Harmon, and Mac Hollins. And out of that list, the only players that I'm okay with bringing back next season is Deron Harmon, Roquan Smith, and Mac Hollins. But let me know who you guys would bring back out of that list, because there's a lot of players on this team right now that most likely will not be Raiders next year, especially if Mark Davis is going to give Josh McDaniels another year or two to get this thing together. I feel like Josh McDaniels is going to bring his own players. He's going to move on from the players that we had before and just build a roster from there. I just don't understand the fact that, you know, our biggest needs in the offseason was improving in the trenches, offensively and defensively. And throughout the whole offseason, throughout the draft, and even before the trade deadline, we have not done much to upgrade at those positions. You know, a defensive tackle and helping out the right side of the offensive line. Yeah, the offensive line has been solid throughout these past couple of games, but we quickly found out in this last game that they gonna get got. And if we don't bring in some big time talent at those positions of need, it's gonna be a long season. And right now it's already feeling like a long season. But lucky enough for the Raiders, there's gonna be a lot of players that are gonna hit the waiver wire pretty soon. And the Raiders right now stand at number 6. And as far as right now, according to Ian Rappaport, there's one player that the Raiders could definitely go out and get. It looks like the Seattle Seahawks have released cornerback Sidney Jones after attempting to trade him today. Now, Sidney Jones is definitely one of those players that the nation has been keeping an eye on, and, you know, would be a perfect plug and play player in our secondary. I mean, like I said, this secondary is not that great. So, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to bring in a guy like Sidney Jones to help out, at least bring some depth to this defense. In Jones' 6-year career, he's played for the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing in 50 games starting in 25. He has a total of 147 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 29 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. So, I mean, this is just an example of one of the players that the Raiders can go out and get. There's going to be many more players hitting the waiver wire pretty soon. This is just one of the names I brought up because he was a guy that was just recently waived right after the trade deadline finished. But how do you guys feel about the Raiders not getting anybody, not making any moves during the trade deadline? And is there any other players out there in the waiver wire or in free agency that you guys wouldn't mind bringing here to the Silver and Black? I don't know why the hell we still haven't gotten a guy like Ndamukong Suh, because I know he could definitely help out this defensive line a lot. But that's besides the point. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. All right, Raider Nation, that's all I have for you guys right now. If you guys enjoy it, don't forget to hit that like button, as well as hitting that subscribe button and that notification icon button to notify you guys when I upload more videos like this. We are 100 subscribers away from 40,000 subscribers, and when we get to 40,000 subscribers, I will be doing a huge giveaway. With that being said, until the next video, this your boy Samoa Raider and your boys. Yeah.
Started off in Oakland, now we here. Thought that we was done, we just hit another gear. Look, started off in Oakland, now we here. Hey, pull up with the nation in the silver black gear. Look, 4 games straight, we in the